All right, y'all, before we start, because some of y'all be tripping, under the advice of counsel, I got to add that the views, thoughts, opinions that are expressed on this podcast are mine and mine alone. They do not represent my employer. All right, let's go.
Because I was like, damn, do we really want to get into this discussion? Because if we get into this discussion right here, y'all.
What? All right, y'all, we are back with another episode of Ridgemont4'sFinest-The Podcast, picking up on where we left off from our last episode. And where we left off, it's like the English teacher and me, that climax, that cliffhanger you just left us with, telling your story. In all the years that I've known you and known this story, baby, I never knew that the district attorney that picked up the charges on your 10-year-old baby was one of us, a sister. Baby, you done shocked shit out of me, because I did not know that in all these years that I've heard this story and I've known this story. Oh, where do we go? Where do we go from there?
You know, it just reminds me of that all skin folks ain't kin folks.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a part of the whole breakdown, that we have those, I guess, tokens everywhere that we always have to be on the lookout for. Everybody's not down for the cause, and everybody is not supportive of your child or you, and being able to decipher who is and who isn't. Because we all know people can smile in your face all day, every day.
Yeah.
That part.
And something we talked about while we had the mics off is that some of these districts are so large, but they're so small at the same time. There's like, what do they call that? 3 degrees of separation? Like, it's so, people are so connected. And even listening to us talking, we're just kind of putting pieces of puzzles together. We're hearing and learning that in some of our situations, there are some connections. There are some marital connections. There are some maternal and paternal connections. And it's really crazy. It's really crazy. So, girl, I'm speechless. I don't even know where to move on for that. But let's move on. Let's go and talk about policy and system changes, right? So I want to ask each one of y'all, if y'all had the ability to change one policy or aspect of the system that would benefit both teachers, parents, and their kids, teacher parents and their kids, what would it be? I'll go first to give you guys a start or an idea, right? I'm gonna go to that chain of command thing. And I had something else in mind, but then when you told me that them people were sitting in your principal's office on a personal matter instead of a personnel matter, it made me think of that chain of command thing, right? And I'm gonna blend the chain of command with the external resources, because I feel like there has to be something else that happens so that teacher parents of kids that are in that same district have an unbiased support system, some kind of way. You were talking earlier about HR. We already been saying, baby, HR ain't for you. HR is not for us. HR is for the reputation of the company or the district. But I feel like even in those cases, we need somebody that is unbiased, that's a neutral party, that has no stink in the game at all. And I think that would be kind of one of my policies. And I think if I had to pick a close second, I hate that, especially being in the district with your kids, that everything that happens at your school is happening at your kids' school at the same time. And how our babies miss out on so much of us because we have to be employees. I think that would be the one. Now, many of us, and I keep saying, I am entering my teacher villain era. And my teacher villain era, it started after COVID. I'm not going to lie to y'all. It started. But my basket of fucks is starting to decrease. And so whereas I would miss out on a lot of things just so I could be that good old company girl or that good old district girl, baby, I don't care about being a good old district girl anymore, because my face is going to be in a place when it comes to my kids, especially because I'm a single mom. And so all my kids have is me. So, yeah, I'll have to catch that right up and catch whatever y'all do the next day. But I'm going to this game, or I'm going to this play, or I'm going to this speech performance. I'm not going to be here. Figured out. Prepare to others. That'll be my thing. So have y'all thought about it? I do a lot of talking. What do y'all think?
Okay, let's see. I think I would have to agree with you. Just having somebody else that's not biased in place for teacher parents. And I'm with you. My kids come first. I'm a single parent too, so I'm gonna miss them days. So You might need to give teacher more days so that they can show up for their kids like they show up for the kids on campus. You know, we have to decide, are we going to be here for our class, which it is our profession, or can we come see our kids too? And our job is to support kids. And I don't like not being able to have the ability to support my own. So, yeah.
I agree. And I feel like when having your kids in the same district as you, I almost feel like the district actually gets the advantage, not you. Because I'm first of all, I'm still going to get money for your child. And I'm paying you. And now the kid is tied to the money. You're going to behave a certain way because you want to keep your kid in the same environment with you. So I really feel like it's more of an advantage to them. So to make it more fair, I do feel like if you are an employee and you have children within the district, it should come with some incentives. And we're not going to go crazy because we know how people are. But even as far as maybe you do get a gift of time on certain occasions, because we should be able to be there for our own kids, just as they always want us after school for some random event that's going on, some fill in the blank type night, or you know, the expectation is.
Oh, I'm salty because I had to stay late the other night for one of them nights. I'm salty now.
So why not have that same opportunity for me to show up for my own child, which is still in the district? You know, I feel like that is something that should be feasible, especially I feel like it doesn't cost us anything
at all.
Because at most districts, I mean, I don't know about everybody else's, but I know, you know, with mine, it's like pulling teeth to even say, well, can I just go during my conference period? Let me just go run and do that. Can I just go sit and have Thanksgiving lunch with my child for 20 minutes? During my conference period? It's, well, no, because you're supposed to be playing. Like, where's the flexibility?
Where's the grace?
You rather me take off, you know, for the entire day?
Because now I'm gonna take the whole day.
Right, because I'm petty like that. Like, oh, you ain't want to give me 30 minutes? Oh, bet, give me 7 hours then. So that's something that I think would be beneficial for us.
Wait, but to piggyback on what you said that teachers have to, I mean, just to piggyback on that, it's like we have to put the grace in at night. They're due by midnight, on Sunday at midnight. You know what I'm saying? So you have all these things that you have to do. We know that a teacher's job is never done, from decorating classrooms to buying supplies for our kids and just bringing things just to create that moment and that excitement and that engaging experience for teachers, right? Even in my current district that I'm at now, we're supposed to get off at like 4:20, but the way the lady calls the buses, the principal called the buses, it's like, teachers, hold on to your kids until we call their bus, even though she know, like I know, that at 4:20, my
contractual obligations is over.
I can leave, right? So you have to give teachers that grace. But the first week of school, when we came in for like the teacher orientation and the planning and everything, she said, if I have any staff members that have students here, come meet with me at the back table. I'm new to the district this year, and I was thinking like, okay, what are we going to do? Now, I'm excited to be on campus this year because my daughter is on campus. So I'm thinking like, oh, let's see what we're talking about. She was like, okay, so you know, as an employee here, your students cannot eat in your classroom during lunch. In the morning when you get here, they need to report to the cafeteria or to the gym.
What?
Yes.
See, punishment.
And so it's almost like, wow, we don't get that kind of time with our own kids because we are going to the mandatory, voluntary things that y'all have us doing in the evening.
Voluntold.
It's like, right, it's mandatory, but guess what? It's a volunteer opportunity. It's like, what? How can it be both, you know? So we have all these things to do after hour and on the weekend and on Sunday before 12, and to have all of these emails to send out to our parents to make sure we're giving their professional communication within their 24, 40-hour time span. But you're telling me, hey, but when it comes to your own kids, send them to the gym, don't eat lunch with them, and cut it off. So they do need to give us some grace when it comes to our own kids.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So I agree with you guys. After several years of teaching, I was one of those teachers that had to step away. So I no longer work in the education system because I do want to have those moments with my kids. Teachers were being asked to take half days when they wanted to go with their kids to do things, especially at the end of the year. And as a mom of multiple children, I decided to step away. Am I working in my passion? No. Am I able to be a mom and be at my everything that my kids have? I am. And I have to choose my kids first.
Absolutely. And I know for so long, and my oldest, he's 20, almost 22. He jokes about it now, but you know how sometimes it be a joke, but it don't really be a joke because he unfortunately did not get the version of me that the other two are getting. And because at that time, I was focused on being a good district girl. Like, yes, I'm going to come to your game. Yes, I'm going to come to practices, but I'm sitting here with my iPad grading. I'm on Google Classroom grading. And I didn't look up to see that you scored, or I didn't look up to see that you made a good tackle or you had a good block. And those things. Or I had my Remind and my Google Classroom alerts and my email on my district phone, which, by the way, I have to tell this to teachers because I feel like it's my job as a teacher auntie to tell the people, get that shit off your phone. Do not conduct ever in life any district business on your phone. I don't care how dedicated to your principal and to your campus and to your district that you want to be. Get that off your phone, because what I am learning and some shit that's going on with the person I work with, y'all know I do consulting. And so a situation that I'm working with in another school district outside, right outside of Katy. When a parent get pissed because they don't get their way and they start talking about due process and OCR and open records request, and they open records request and pull the name in any communication that got their kid name on it, whether it's in your phone or not, they finna turn over. So if you in the group chat talking shit about kids and yada yada, that's subject to, you know, the act. So I want to tell y'all, don't conduct no district business on y'all phone at all. Let that shit go. The district needs to have you. You can be dedicated. I'm not gonna tell any teacher not to be dedicated, because when you get on social media and tell teachers, guys, stop working after 4:30, they get mad because they're like, I do you, boo. I ain't gonna tell you what to do, but I'm gonna tell y'all, don't put that shit on y'all phone. Let them people go. They can catch y'all the next day. And I know, especially for like, y'all are elementary, or y'all were elementary. So the availability to your parents is important to some of y'all and to your parents. Then we get up to that high school, middle school availability. No, baby, you don't get to. I'm gonna call you back. I'm never gonna leave you hanging. But if you email me at 5:00 on Saturday evening, baby, Monday morning, 8:30 to 9, I'm gonna respond back to you. Sometimes some of us respond back immediately, and then the parents get what? Comfortable.
Yeah.
Too comfortable. And then after they get comfortable, they get disrespectful. And so I'll be like, I don't do it. Now I went there, but I don't even remember the point that I was going on when I said that. But that just made me think of that. Anyway, let's move on to the next question. So we talked earlier about empathy, and we know that cultivating a culture of empathy requires effort. And people don't want to give that. We, as an industry that is supposed to be the most compassionate, the most empathetic industry, we are probably some of the worst. We are some of the individuals that lack it the most. But I want to talk about a time, to switch it from some of the negatives, a time where you felt like the community, the school community, your administrator, your district, or whatever, really, truly understood the challenges of being a teacher and a parent. Your face scrunched up like, bitch, never.
Never.
That's crazy.
Ever.
That's crazy. I'm gonna go first so I can give y'all time to think. And I feel like I got to stop saying how great my principal is, because I feel like in a minute they're going to start targeting her ass because
I know.
But it's not just her. I've had other great administrators that I worked under. The late, great Mr. Bill Sorrells Jr., I've worked under him. And probably one of the most, especially when you talk about males, the best that I've ever worked for in my life, because you talk about an understanding, an empathetic, a compassionate person. That would be it. I will never forget going back to my oldest son. We were in HISD at the time, and my son was going to one of the magnet schools, and my son was a very bad asthmatic. He had like seasonal asthma. I don't even know if you call it like a season allergy-induced asthma. That's what they called it, allergy-induced asthma. And so depending on the seasons, they gonna call me because his oxygen, he can't breathe. He can't. He's, he need a treatment, whatever. And I remember one time being called and having to leave, and thinking like, God damn, at the time I was pregnant with one of my other kids, and I'm like, damn, I can't keep leaving work. And my principal at the time, Mr. Sorrells, was like, go get your kid. like family first. And he was a single dad. He raised his 3 kids. And he, go get your kid. And he said, you can go get him. And I have a couch in my office. He had a couch in his office. He had a suite. And then the assistant principal had a couch in his suite. And so go get your baby. They didn't dock my time. They didn't say, you got to sign out. You got to do any of that. Get your baby. I went and got my baby. He said, get him some lunch. He said, here, get a little $20. He gave me just some money to get him some lunch. And because he wanted some too, because he was always eating some fish. But swing back through, and I got to go back to class. They had somebody cover my class for that little 30 minutes while I went down the street to Windsor Village Elementary, picked my baby up, and got some fish, got some little whatever, and came back. My baby got his treatment. He laid on the couch playing his Nintendo DS in the assistant principal's office. I went back to work. I wasn't worried. I wasn't stressed. But it was that stuff like that that made us, until the day he left, and because baby, he went out fighting from HISD. But made things like that made us, we fighting because we didn't have no money. We was the poorest school, one of the poorest schools at HISD at the school that I worked at under him. And he was about kids. So when it came to Saturday tutorials, he had no money in the budget to pay us for Saturday tutorials. Bitch, we was up there. We was up there deep because we knew that man would do anything for us and our families. And so principles like that make the job easier. We know it's challenging. We know it comes with all of its shits. But when you have a principal or a leader like that just show me some compassion. Show me that you understand that I'm human, that I'm trying to do both of these things. And I'm going to walk to the ends of the earth for you. And so that was probably my story.
Okay, my story was, and I have 2, but I'm going to share one.
Share both of them. Shit.
Okay, so one was my first teaching job ever. It's one of the private schools in Houston, Texas, African-American private school at that. Kind of big in numbers, about 700 students, and that's big for a private school. And our principal was amazing. She was amazing because she was invested in kids, self-esteem, confidence, learning, just building that foundation. Those kids that thought that they could compete with anybody on any stage in the world, right? They were just as great as their counterparts, white counterparts, anybody. They could do golf, tennis. She tried to provide all of those opportunities just so that they can know I am somebody too. So building that confidence in students and watching her do that, and then giving her teachers the grace to do whatever we wanted to do in those classrooms. Like, we were held to lesson plans, but we wasn't like, you got to live and die by the lesson plan.
Right.
Like right now, administrator come in, you need to be right here, right here.
Yes. Oh my God.
We weren't held to that standard. It was like we were held to the standard of making sure that students were academically competent and they could master the content. And that's what made our students, grow so much academically. We wasn't at 10 o'clock, I got to be here because she's coming in for this evaluation. I got to be here. Oh my God, they didn't walk through the door. And that's a lot of pressure for a teacher, right? Especially when you have these oversized classrooms, you have all of these different kind of learners, you have all of these different accommodations that you have to implement. But then here we are at this private school where these classes are cut in size, and you're not even held to that standard, and you can push that mastery and that agenda for your kids. So I just appreciate the grace that she gave. I appreciate the content knowledge that she gave us. It was no pressure. Teachers, she knew that we had the education piece to make those kids successful, and she didn't harp on us in doing so. So I appreciate that learning opportunity that she gave me, and I appreciate that she gave me the skill set to build my students whatever classroom environment I go in. I keep that in the back of my mind. I got to make them confident so that I can push them academically, because if they're not confident, I can't really push them academically. And then I had this other administrator. I mean, she was amazing. She was a praying woman, I would say. She said she was a prophet, and she was just amazing. I just loved the way she loved on her staff. And because she was such a God-fearing lady, I felt like all her teachers were too. Like, you come into some schools and you see that a lot of the teachers are not intentional about kids. I think that this is their fallback job. Like, I'm just here because, hey, I got my degree and I can't find another place to go. So I'm just here working with your kids, and I don't even like kids. I got a whole lot of cats, and not saying that you can't, just because you got cats, you don't like kids, but I'm just saying a lot of these people are not intentional about even liking kids, right? So you get into these jobs and you just don't want to be there. But because of her energy, it kind of just spilled down to the rest of the employees, and it just made them have a love for kids, whether they had that calling to love kids or not. So I appreciate that too. So I had 2 really good people. Yeah.
This baby shaking her head. Are you seriously in all the... We've been teaching, we've been in education. First of all, we graduated high school together, went to middle school together. We done some dirt together. You mean to tell me in all these years you can't think of one?
My administrators have all been very similar. Some a little bit more lenient than others, but very similar.
That sucks,
Okay.
man.
I knew that the work that I was doing, they didn't call me to do it. I was being called to a higher purpose. So now I've had an amazing career in education, but I would not associate that with one, like I didn't have any.
Damn,
like
that's
that.
sad. Like, that really
Have a
makes
great
me
story about
sad.
somebody that looks like us that was an administrator, but that's not this conversation. We're talking about great administration, aren't we? Yeah.
We talking about what a minute?
Great administration. Yeah, I've had some of those other ones. No, they've all been similar in their approaches, but nothing that, they've all been, great in their own right.
In their own right. You just don't have a personal sob story like we do.
No, absolutely not. They've been amazing though. Not to take away their,
They do their job.
They do their job.
Okay.
And I don't have any complaints.
Okay, well, that's good. That's a positive.
So, well, mine would be current, because the current is the reason why my son was introduced back into public school again. So I felt like she viewed him as an extension of her family. Like, no, we are going to get him. So that was that. And then the other is actually, it was a very short experience, and it was like so unexpected because I did not have a good relationship with this principal for basically my entire time there at that particular campus. But there was one interaction where an assistant principal came to me in a conversation and said, "You're good. Don't get stuck here. I need you to move around."
Oh, wow.
Beautiful.
And
Do I know
was
this
shocked.
person that said that?
You do.
Can you write the name on a piece of paper? I'm very curious to know which assistant principal, because we worked at many schools together.
I'm not going to write it. I'm just going to tell you a nickname.
Okay.
You know Sherman Hensley.
Uh-huh.
I need you to think about the walk.
Girl, shut up.
Yes.
The good doctor.
Yes.
Wow.
Came to me and said that, don't get stuck here. He said, if you stay too long, you're not going to ever be able to leave.
Damn.
That's why we have teachers that are, at that time at that school, he said, that's why we have teachers here who are good and they can't go anywhere. He said, because you get a label being here. And
you get punished for being good at what you do.
Yes. And so when he said that to me, I was said, okay, open up laptop, let's get started.
Yeah.
And then I was part of that exodus.
That's crazy that you say him, because I've actually done a couple of TikTok stories about him. Because y'all know, many times y'all heard me talk about that evil principal from hell, the wicked witch from the west. He, even though she had him doing dirt, because they make other people be their flunky, she had him doing dirt. When it was time for me to leave, he was instrumental in me being able to leave. Without that, I would have been stuck, because there would have been no way in the world she would have even given me a piece of a positive reference to go somewhere, because again, she hated my guts, but I was bringing in test scores. And so I got to keep you here, but I want to make you suffer and let you know that I run you, but I really need you, because without you, I don't know how we're going to get this back on track. And even though he had a hand doing some dirty shit to me at her directive, the reason why I was able to fly was because of him. I can't even knock it. And I think I remember saying to him something similar. Like, this is when we were getting into it about what he was having to do, because we were cool. And then I was like, damn, you stabbing me in the back over her. Like, there's so many times that you call me at night, bitching about her. You text me bitching about her. You come to my classroom whispering in my ear talking about her, and had to hurry up and sneak away so she wouldn't see that you were even talking to me, under the guise of doing an observation on me. But really, you were in my classroom 15 minutes talking your shit and venting. And then for you to sit at this table when it's time for these meetings and be on her side, I was like, nah, bro. It was crazy. But then I remember telling him, you will never get your own school. Like, you're always going to be here in this place, in this district, as everybody's flunky, because you was a man that couldn't stand on principle. And even though he was able to escape, and I know exactly where he is now, and I know exactly who he works under now, two doctors, two black men running a school on the east side of town. And you still somebody's assistant. You still somebody's flunky.
Wow.
And I always say that was because even though I think you had good intentions, you could never stand on your own. You never stood on principle. So you will always be seen as somebody's bitch.
Mm.
That's harsh. That's
It
harsh.
is what it is.
But it is what it is. So, all right. We kind of already talked on addressing equity and the fair treatment. So how we feel like our children are being treated differently compared to others, especially when their parents hold influential positions. And before we get into the parents who hold influential positions, I'm gonna talk briefly about just us regular Joes, right? I could not wait for my daughter, my youngest, to leave where I was, because having her there, and something y'all gotta know about my daughter is my twin, and my twin in every way. All right, we look identical, we act identical, and she has no filter like her mother has no filter. And so being on the campus with her and her radical Angela Davis Jr. ways, I said, God damn, these people gonna get me up out this good old school and this good old district, because you are around here acting reckless. And I remember being like, damn, every time my child breathes, somebody's in my face telling me something that she did. And I want to say, can you act like I don't work here? Can you act like any other kid? Would you call or notify any other kid's parent daily, 2 or 3 times a day, like you talk to me? And we're not talking about things that are breaking the student code of conduct, right? We're not talking about things that needs to result in alternative school or behavior school. It's all personality conflicts.
Mm.
It's all personality conflicts. And we talked earlier off record about cultural disconnects that so many of these schools have. The staff is not a true representation of the kids that are in the building. And so when you have that, that's what you get. And earlier on one of my videos, we were talking about ISS and how like the kids are sentenced to ISS for extended periods of time, like 10 days, 13 days, 15 days. And they didn't even do anything to you or do anything in your classroom, or you're not the reason why they're there. Why y'all not going to pop y'all head in and just say, hey, what's up? You good? I'm checking on you. I see you. Right? I was hit with a whole bunch of, when do we have time? When do we have time? I'm like, I get it. Like, I'm a teacher's teacher. I get that we don't have a lot of time to do a lot of things, but I can go swing by ISS on my way to the copy room, to the restroom. I can go swing by on my way to your classroom and come talk shit, because we be sitting in the hallway gossiping. I can do that, and I can pop in and check on the kid. And so when you have those teachers that are like, oh, I ain't got time, it's like, I hate to say the R word because everybody hates it, but relationships, like, that's what we talk about. And so when it's time for that kid to come back into your classroom, what kind of respect are they going to have for you? What kind of relationship what kind of trust are they going to have in you? You couldn't even come through and holler at me for a few minutes to make me feel like I was important. I didn't even do nothing to you. I'm in here because I couldn't get to school on time for first period 10 consecutive days. So they threw me in ISS for 10 days. I don't control how I get to school. I don't control what my mama do with her car. Maybe my mama was hungover because my mama is a raging alcoholic. And maybe I had to beg her to wake up just to get me to school. And because she didn't wake up, I had to take off walking. We had that incident last year where we had a kid that lived in the mobile home community that wasn't too far from us. And they would just get on him so much about, you're late. And it's like, damn, he's sweating. It's an hour late. He's sweating because he just walked down that damn road, that farm to market road to get to class. And as soon as he got the door, instead of you saying, I'm glad you're here. You good? You need anything? Did you eat breakfast? You bitching at him because he late. And I have to remind teacher world that although some of us do work in areas where there are Hellcats, SRTs, and baby Bentleys and whatever in the parking lot, and the students can come to school whenever they want to, and yeah, you mad because they came to school late with a triple venti caramel frappuccino crunch. Everybody else didn't. And so, I mean, I joked on TikTok, but I really wasn't joking. Like, we're at places where these people even going off on kindergarten. They ain't drive themselves to school.
Exactly.
How you going off on them before you even say good morning?
Exactly.
Did you eat? The cafeteria is closed. Go to my closet and get some cereal and go in my fridge and get one of the milks I stole out of there that I'm gonna lose my job behind because you're not supposed to take. They're supposed to throw them in the trash can instead of give them to the kids. That's another episode. So just talking about the empathy, but when we talk about I'm off topic again. Going back to the people that have influential positions, right? I will never forget this time. I don't know if I told this story before. I was at a school in another district, not the one that I'm currently in, but I was at another school, and there was this young lady who made the most outrageous terroristic threat to the whole entire campus that she was at. And her father was a principal at one of the competitive schools. I mean, one of the other neighboring middle schools in the area, because it's like 8, 12 middle schools. And she made a terroristic threat. And when I tell y'all, the shit that they did to get that child to jump district lines just to go to another school so she could escape that charge was crazy. They were able to, all of a sudden, she had to be checked into a mental institution after making a threat. All of a sudden, where there never was one, there was a special education label. There was never one prior to that. But after her stay, there was a full battery of testing done. There was a label. There were accommodations. There was a diagnosis. All right. To avoid that disability. But prior to all of that being done, the whole thing, like with your baby, charges, we whispering, da-da-da-da. And at the time, the principal was somebody that we are all very familiar with at the middle school. And because you knew the incident happened on your campus, but because you knew the father, you was cool with the father that was the principal at the other campus, you gave him a heads up and you said, hey, they about to come arrest your daughter. Come check her out. And so he was able to leave where he was because, they ain't got to check in and check out with nobody and go get his baby before the people came to pick her up from the school. And from then, you took your baby to get checked into a treatment facility so that you can avoid punishment. And after all that was swept under the rug, your baby comes back to a new school, which was not the school that, we're assigned to go to, because, some of these districts have very strict rules about where your kids can attend school. And all of a sudden, here you are with this label and all these accommodations, and the incident went away. And so when I talk about things that I'm dealing with my own son, I cannot help but to think about people like that in situations like that and get so angry and so fighting mad because I know what y'all do for others. And I think, I don't know. That's another thing with that fine line. You got to walk and you got to be quiet a lot of times because you can't know too much. You're not supposed to know too much. Yep. But thank God I escaped that place. But then, what they say, leave one mess into another, because everybody got their skeleton. Everybody got their skeletons. Oh, anyway, y'all, I'm going to wrap up, but I think parting words for those people that have, would you recommend it? Is it something that you would ever regret, working in the same district that your kids attended school in?
No.
Okay.
Wouldn't regret it. I just knew it was time to go. January, right before it was time to go back last year. The Sunday before, my husband had a surprise for me on Sunday. Didn't tell me what it was, so I was so excited. When we got there, it was at one of those vitamin IV places because he knew how bad I was dreading going to work the next morning and how much pressure it was. So when I drove up January 1st to hear we had a speaker at the time speak that day to motivate the teachers on January 1st. I'm motivated already. I'm good. I've had my vitamins yesterday. January 2nd, whenever it was. I knew that was one of my last times returning to the district, because if my husband thought I needed to be surprised with things to regulate my emotions, then that was a problem. So I chose myself, and here I am.
That is hilarious.
We went to do our vitamins. It was good. It was nice. I needed to relax, and then we went to French's. And then, I went the next day, but I knew that was my last time returning to a district.
A vitamin cocktail.
Yep. Oh. I knew it was time.
I know I said we to wrap up, but I made another post last week, and I asked teachers, when did they know?
That's when I knew
that it was time.
It wasn't the kids, wasn't the parents, wasn't the test. It was all the other things that I just couldn't control. Love the kids, still love the kids. Had the best parents. We talk about administrators. I've had the best parents and kids, and some not great kids that I just loved, and they were great to me. And will always be great to me. But yeah, that's when I knew it was time.
Damn. And when you left the district that you were in, when did you know? Was it the people sitting in your principal's office that made you decide that this was it? What was your "it's time for me to go" moment?
So many things,
Yeah.
right? But I don't regret working in the district where my students were
Mm-hmm.
because it gave me that necessary insight that I need. You know how on the outside looking in, it might seem one way, but being in the district, it gave me that insight to see, wow, for Black History Month, you guys would actually hang up Anne Frank in a school for African American kids and put up Gandhi. So the representation wasn't there for Black history. So I wouldn't have never had that insight if I hadn't worked in the same district as my students to say, hey, we're misrepresented during Black History Month at some of these schools, some of the schools that people would mostly desire for their kids to be in the district, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have never had the insight to say, wow, you all are really not letting the African American kids and the minority kids into the gifted program. As a kindergarten teacher, I saw that only one kindergartner that was African American was able to get into the GT program at this particular campus with 5 kindergarten classes. So you have over 100 kids
What?
and only one African American qualified, and he was the only African American. He was one in my class. No other African Americans got into the program, and I knew that students were gifted and should have been in that program. I was even able to talk to my kids and say, hey, what did you do on the test? And some kids who got in was able to tell me the test verbatim. And then some that didn't get in that I thought should have definitely qualified couldn't really recall the test. And I was thinking, but you sharp, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we look at the principals and we say, you know, they do have a bias and things are more lenient for them. And I'm looking at their kids and saying, how did your baby get into the GT program and this child couldn't get into the GT
Because
program?
they'd seen the test before.
Exactly.
Hello. Ooh.
So given that insight was definitely necessary, and it made me want to push harder. Like I started judging for UIL competitions so that students could have that opportunity to be successful, because I just needed to know. I had been a parent sitting on the opposite side for so many years to say, you know, so I appreciate that insight. So now I know what kind of district my kids are in, who's advocating for them and who's not. So it was necessary.
I'm before I get to you, Angela, I remembered that I needed to talk to you about something. There's a reason why we call you Annalise Key.
Yes.
And because you are notorious for knowing policy and yeah, come on.
Okay, so when I first entered the district in 2016, my daughter had already been in kindergarten, right? She did kindergarten at the private school that I was in. And she was coming into this district as supposedly a first grader. But the district wanted to put her back in kindergarten because of her birthday. Now, I know kindergarten is not even a requirement in the state of Texas. And so I went to the principal and she was like, well, you know, instead of her listening to me based on what my daughter could do and what she could not do, she was saying, you know what, my daughter had to repeat kindergarten as well. So I understand what you're going through. My child had to repeat kindergarten. She came from a Montessori school, and it really gave her a great opportunity when she did that because of the maturity level. And I'm thinking, like, not to negate your daughter's experience, but that has nothing to do with my daughter and what she can do academically. So I went, did the chain of command, and landed in the superintendent office. And I talked to him for a long time. My daughter was in the office with me. And he was saying, you know what, I'm going to go up to the elementary school and I'm going to have an assessment with your daughter. So I kept asking her every day in this kindergarten class. And we're like the first 2 weeks of school. And I'm like, hey, did he come by? She was like, no, I haven't seen him. I haven't seen the superintendent. I'm like, okay, now he said he was going to do this academic assessment. And based on his academic assessment,
The superintendent
yes,
was going to do
come
an
to the
academic
school
assessment on
and-
your child.
Yes. He was like, I'm
Okay.
going to come up to the school and I'll figure out if she should be in the first grade or not. Now, I had already told him that the same test that they used for the gifted students in this particular district was the same test that she took at the private school that she was coming from. It was the Stanford 9 or the Stanford 10, and she was on her 3rd grade reading level, like 5th grade math level, had the scores, presented them and everything. Right now, this is the same test that you use as an assessment tool in your district. Her scores wasn't considered. Her report card was not considered. I said, okay. Kept asking her. Now we here at week 3. And I called his office and he was like, yeah, I've been up to the school. I said, well, let me schedule a meeting to come sit with you and talk to you to see what your findings are, to see are we going to move her to the next level. I get to his office. She was with me. And at this time I said, just sit outside or whatever, and I'll go in and talk to him. And he was like, you know what? Based on my findings, she is not the most academically smartest child in that classroom. I said, you went, I said, well, can I see the documentation? The assessment piece that you used? He said, oh, no. I didn't go into the classroom. I stood at the window and I watched her. I said, well, what did you see? I said, because the only thing that you could have saw looking through that window is that she is one of 3 African Americans in her class, and she's a female. Nothing else that you could have seen. One of 3 African Americans and female. So there's no academics. Well, I'm just going to tell you this. She's not one of the smartest kids in that class. I said, based on her appearance, because that's all you did was an academic assessment by looking in the window. I said, he was like, well, based on what I saw, she's socializing with other kids in the class. I said, that doesn't determine whether she should still be in kindergarten. You know, I'm not looking for you to do she can socialize with anybody.
My puppy socializes with other puppies at the park. What the hell?
What are we saying here? So because of that, it made me say, okay, so she's a Black little girl sitting in this kindergarten class. You looked through the window and you must have thought by her race and her gender that she was dumb. Because you just said that she's not academically the smartest one in that class. You don't have any paperwork from the teacher, any assessment, went to the board meeting, stood up, and everybody was giving him all of these accolades. I found out the next board meeting, they were just, so happy, and we're having this program, and thank you to this guy, and just celebrating him. And I got up there, had my kids sitting in the audience, and I said, this, because you can't call people names at the board meetings. You have to be real general.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can't use their name. Well, the superintendent went to my daughter's school, and he was supposed to perform an academic assessment. Mind you, only have 5 minutes to talk. And we were...
Did you talk at the school board meeting?
I went to the board meeting.
I did not know that.
Okay. District, yeah. They have these board meetings like every month at different middle schools. And I said, I got my 5 minutes of fame. Let's go. And so I went up there and said, based on his assessment that he was supposed to do, which was supposed to let me know if she was qualified for the next grade level, he told me that he looked through the window, and based on her gender and the fact that she's an African-American young lady, she was not the smartest child in that classroom, because that's what he told me. I mean, it was so quiet. There wasn't not one clap except for my 2 kids that I had brought with me, the 5-year-old and 6-year-old brother. And from there, I filed the necessary agreements, and I went to the Office of Civil Rights, and I did a discrimination lawsuit and everything, and I won. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I did. And he's no longer the superintendent of that district either. So I guess he has some other run-ins as well. Yeah.
Wait a minute. So when you got up and spoke at the board meeting and you said that, and you could hear a rat piss on cotton because it was so quiet, did anybody try to usher you into a back room and say, hold on, let's fix this, let's work on this, let's mediate, let's talk about this? Did he reach out to you in any kind of way to ask for any type of conflict resolution? Nothing?
No, nothing. And it's so crazy because every time I went to talk to him, I always recorded him. The last time that I had spoke with him over the phone to say, hey, you told me that my child wasn't the smartest person in the classroom after viewing her through a window. I said, that's such a racist statement to make. And he was like, I think that you're just taking this too far. Like you're making this something that is not. I was like, well, can you tell me what it is? What is it? How did you perform an academic assessment on my child? I've been waiting for you to get back with me for 3 weeks, and your finding is she's not the smartest person in the room, and you looked at her through a window. So what are you saying? Based on her look, it was her look that gave you the say-so to say she's not that smart. I see who she is.
And these are the individuals that we're supposed to trust with making the best decisions for our children and their future.
They're supposed to have best practices, best interests, provide a safe environment, all of the things that you have to trust your children with on a day-to-day basis.
How long was that process from, because now I feel like that needs to be a whole nother episode, OCRs. How long, because you didn't get, like you said earlier, emotions and everything was all in the air. So you didn't get that opportunity to take it there when you were, can think logically and more level-headed. What was the process? Walk us through what an OCR complaint
Okay, so the OCR is totally different from the grievance process that you need to file with the school so that you can have everything in place. So you have to file that formal grievance. You have to send that letter to the principal of that school first to say, hey, this is what occurred on your campus, but I also CC'd him on the email since it was dealing with him. It's almost like I'm filing agreements, but I'm giving it to the top person who's supposed to handle agreements.
Which is, we'll go back to that. We need a person with bias. I mean, no bias.
You need somebody that's more neutral party, definitely. So after sending that, they have that 10-day to respond to you. Of course, within their findings, they're going to say,
Nothing.
We found nothing.
We found nothing. Even with the recording, even with you documenting an email, and like I said off air, you have to remain very professional in the setting. You can't even mention your feelings. This made me feel this way. This made my daughter feel this way. You have to state the facts. I observed this. This is what was said. You have to go through and listen to your recording and go ahead and document word for word just so you can have it in writing in addition to the recording, because 9 times out of 10, they're not going to listen to it. They don't even want to hear it, right?
Because it's the truth in their face.
It's too much. It's too obvious. So once they have declined that, keep doing your appeal. You have to do that appeal process. As soon as they give you back your findings within that 10 days, you need to do that appeal process. I think you have another 10 days to do it. It might be 3, depending on the district. You have to keep appealing. But in the meantime, file with the Office of Civil Rights, right? And be clear about what the discrimination was. This person made an academic, you have to be very clear. And even in that communication, you have to take the feelings out. I feel like the district, nobody cares about your feeling. The district sent their superintendent to my child's school, and the superintendent said that my child is not smart by looking at her through a window among only 2 other African Americans in a classroom with other races. You have to be so clear in your communication, because the minute you start typing how it made you feel, how you upset, now you're just a frustrated parent that's sad because you didn't tell them you sad.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Got to take all of that out of there.
Okay.
It has to be so clear,
So
professional.
objective.
Right. Can't have no room for it to be subjected at all. And so because of that, Office of Civil Rights, I think I filed that in September because it was the first couple of weeks of school. I didn't hear back from them until February.
Oh, wow. It took a minute.
It took a minute, and then everything probably was finalized by May.
Wow. And then that part did not take a minute.
No.
So, okay, now from some of my prior advocacy work, I know with OCR, you have 180 days from the date the incident happened to file with the Office of Civil Rights, right?
Right.
And they get your case and they assign it to an investigator.
So now it seems like, I feel like it's short-staffed, and I could be wrong. I feel like they're not moving as quickly as they were
since COVID.
Since COVID. And because I just filed with the OCR recently.
Again?
I did.
God damn, what happened?
Come on, Annalise.
So
Come on,
I
Annalise.
was at a school. You know what? A lot of schools, especially charter schools, where you don't have the necessary credentials, you don't have to have them to be in the high position that
part.
you're in.
That part.
And because you don't have those necessary credentials, you don't necessarily know what you're doing.
Yep.
Right.
Don't have the education.
You have hired all your homegirls and homeboys, and you can't really delegate assignments and things to them. You know why? Because they don't know how to do it, right? And you can't let it fall back on you because you're the person in charge. So to make everybody look good, since you hired all your best friends and cousins, you have to take on all the work. So you're not really functioning at the highest level of professionalism. So that's the run-in that you're going to get when you go to some charter schools, especially because you don't have a principal does not have to have a principal certification at all, right? Don't even have to have a master's degree. I think that the charter school that I was at, the principal, they call them school leaders. They don't have the principal certification. So the
We know where this
leader,
is.
he only had a bachelor's degree in computer science. And so he had a lot of implicit bias, and that implicit bias takes over when you come in and you think you know what's best for the people, right? You ride in on your white horse and you're going to save the day for all of the children that's coming from the underserved community and are at an economic disadvantage, right?
Yeah.
The problem with that is you can't relate, nor have you formed any connections or relationships with these students, right? And so, because of who you are, and maybe because of your background and your skin color, they have given you a brand new school with absolutely zero experience, right?
With your computer science degree.
With your computer science degree. And unfortunately, because you don't have the necessary skill set, you have hired all first-year teachers, right? Okay. And you're servicing all of these underserved communities and these students that need someone to make a connection with them more than anything, right? And so, of course, he didn't know how to do it. And then we were in this pandemic year. So that was a struggle. And then you have all these first-year teachers that need classroom management training and just the skill set and the relationship building to even navigate these students, right? None of that existed, right? And unfortunately, the teachers were allotted, we were allowed to work from home. And he wanted us to come back in so desperately, of course, because it was like, please get in here because this school is falling apart. I don't know what I'm doing.
I ain't made no connection.
Stay at home no more.
Come get your cousins.
Right. It was like HR had said that we could stay at home, but it had to be at the discretion of our kids. Our students, our principals or whatever. And so he was like, nope, y'all got to come on back in here. And I don't know what happened, but when I came back, HR had said that I could be in this room by myself teaching virtually, even though I couldn't, but they said that I could stay at home if he said I could. But he was like, nope, come on back and sit in this classroom by yourself, which made no sense. But I was like, okay, I'll come on back. But he was like, but for lunch, I'm going to need you to go watch them classes over there. Like, girl, I was thinking, they said I didn't have to have no connection with the kids, but at a time where everybody got their mask off, I got to go back in. No, that's not what we're doing. He has his whole tactic in coming in to talk to me. Mind you, I recorded the whole thing. His approach was so negative. He was like, he accidentally sent out this email and it said that so-and-so would be out because of COVID, but it was only supposed to go out to the administrators. But, he kind of rough. He don't understand systems and stuff, and he didn't send it out to the whole staff, right?
Told us.
So I'm like, I cannot go into that lady's classroom because y'all just said that she had COVID. Absolutely. And her class, and he was like, how do you know that?
Dummy.
Who told you that? I was like, I said, you sent it out in the email. I did not. So his whole personality, it was so aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, if you don't do this, you're going to be this. And I was like, hold up. So, of course, I said, let me start looking this man up and see what kind of person this man is. On his Facebook site, he had called it was something about LeBron James, but he had called LeBron James and Barack Obama a terrorist, right? But it was 10 years back. He had wrote it on Facebook. You got to be careful what you write, right? And he just had that Facebook post there. Whatever it was so racist, right? And he had done little things that had made some red flags come in my mind. Like one time, he talked about this steamboat book. I don't know if you guys know the steamboat story, how the kids back in the day would have to go learn on a steamboat because they wasn't able to get an education. Black kids cannot be educated, so they would sneak and learn on a steamboat, right? Mm-hmm. So he was calling the school that we were at like the little steamboat.
Girl.
And I'm thinking like,
sir, this is not the steamboat, sir. Like, sir.
It was like, we're going to find a way or make a way. That's what his motto was. That's what he kept saying. So I said...
Which ain't a bad motto, but hold up, bro.
It wasn't a bad motto, but it was almost like it didn't sound good coming from him, and it raised a red flag. The next red flag was we were sitting on this family meeting, and this man started singing This Little Light of Mine, but it sounded like the slave hymn version from the plantation. And I was sitting there like, where did they come in at, right? Okay, so y'all, steamboat. Well, we trying to make a way for these Black kids and these minority kids to get an education in this world. And then this little light of mine. So, I was like, I got to go find this person on Facebook for real to see what his past. And then he was like, he said something. He said, at the time, the George Floyd situation had happened, right? Lord. And so at this particular charter school, what they like to do is kind of key in on let's get together and make sure we're not having, I guess, it was almost like let's be inclusive. And it was supposed to have this person come in that teaches everybody to be able to work in this.
Oh, that's when everybody's doing the big push for equality and equity, and
all of that,
diversity,
right?
And inclusion and da-da-da, yeah.
But in the midst of the whole George Floyd thing, and you got all your Black staff and we didn't have that many Caucasian people on our team, maybe 2. The person who did the equity thing was a Hispanic lady. I think she was from New York, and she would come in, and I was thinking she's speaking to Black situations and trying to help us navigate it, but she can't really relate.
She's telling me about my experience.
Right. So my experience, right. And so I was like, okay. And he said in the meeting, he said, you know what? I've been in education for a while, and I've never felt comfortable advocating for minorities. Like, I've never felt like it was my place or I had a voice to do so.
Y'all, the D. Francis, our producer, just sat up and turned his head around when she said that. Go ahead.
Right. He said, I never could find that voice to do that. Like, I just never thought it was my place, or I didn't have the right footing, or what I should say. I never was comfortable in doing that. So here I'm thinking, like, here you are, a school leader over all of these minority children, and you don't feel comfortable, or you never felt like you had the voice to even advocate for them in the midst of this whole George Floyd thing.
Why are you here?
Why you feel comfortable enough to say that out loud?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, keep that for Thanksgiving.
But you feel comfortable enough on Facebook to call. Okay.
Right. So you said that out loud. And so parents are supposed to trust you with their minority babies. Their law enforcement have been really targeting, right? And you're not going to even advocate for them because you never felt comfortable, right? So after I saw that thing, and I felt like a lot of his things that once he was upset with me, because he was really upset with me when I didn't want to go into the classroom, and he was trying to figure out the email, just the little things that he was saying were so racially geared. I was like, what is going on? And when I saw that thing, I sent it to HR, right? First, I went through him because he was really, it was like a bullying tactic. He would come sit in the room with me and be like, well, you're going to have to go do lunch duty. I know what they're saying, but you need, I was thinking, well, because I'm going to have to write you up and you need to sign this. I was thinking, I'm not signing anything. Right? I'm not going. That's what HR, you need to go talk to the lady who gave me that paperwork and my guidelines to coming up into this building. And I'm not going. You accidentally sent the email. Well, who told you? I mean, it was just like, he was so upset. And so
mad at himself that he
fumbled the ball.
Yeah.
Right. So when I sent it to her, of course, she was like, oh, just send me everything in writing. And we all know that HR works for the company. So I'm sending you something to say, hey, this is what this guy is doing. And it seemed like it's really racially geared. And you're saying, okay, we're going to do that investigation. Now, the person that they sent me to, which is the head of schools, of course, he was African-American, right? And he tried to dismiss it, negate the pictures, even the Facebook screenshot with the man talking about terrorists and Barack Obama, just everything negative. And I'm like, what? It's a no. I said, okay, I understand. I'm just going to file my appeal. And then I sent it to the Office of Civil Rights. And when they accept it, they're going to file a charge against the school. When they pick it up, they file a charge.
Wait. Oh, that's how it works?
Yeah.
Okay.
So once you give all your information, they're going to either dismiss it and say, nope, it's nothing, or they're going to file a charge. That lady called, she sent me an email and said, we will be filing a charge at 10 a.m. in the morning, right?
Come on.
Wow.
And I'm at the school like, oh my God,
They about to fire me too.
And when I tell you he was gone, that was his last day. At
Shut up.
10:30 that day. I don't know what HR told him.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know
can
if they
imagine.
said, baby, you may need to resign at this point. He was gone. And it was said that he left because he wanted to stay at home with his kids or something. And he wasn't feeling well. And I was thinking, like, no, they filed that charge at 10.
Yeah.
Like, everybody was trying to figure out where he went. Like, he really wasn't feeling well. And he just decided that this was his last day. He was going to go take care of his kids. I'm thinking, like, no, they filed a charge today. Now, I don't know how that process went. All I know is he was gone.
Because I know once the investigator is assigned to your case, they then have 180 days or have some type of time period. Don't make
I
me
don't
lie.
think it even took that long. I think they have 180 days to respond to all of the information you gave them. But I don't even think it took that long because they picked up their charge and they said, we're going to file a charge.
And there was no mediation with that either.
No mediation. They said
What?
they were just going to file a charge.
I need to know what your type of documentation is. Because,
Yes,
baby, you was
absolutely.
making it happen.
Yeah.
So, see, you know what? It may be time for you to step away and do some advocacy work as well, because there are so many, even on the educator standpoint, how many people don't even know that this is what I can do?
Yeah.
Or even teaching parents, okay, as soon as something happens, call me. You go be emotional and let me get down to business.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
even with what I'm dealing with with my son and my background in special education and laws and all this other stuff, it's hard for you to separate mom. You know,
Yeah, it is.
it's very hard for you to separate mom. And even as I was up this morning at 3:00 this morning tweaking, you know, my anxiety, because my mind is always going because it's like, I gotta say this. So when it gets in my head, I gotta get up and dump it.
Yeah.
So I'll get up and go to my office and I just have to start typing stuff down so that when I am clear-minded, I can go back and look at all the points and go see how I can word it so where I'm not looking like the angry Black woman, right? But I still sit and think like, damn, on the first day that this happened, I should have done ABC. Or damn, the 10th day, I should have done ABC. I thought I had everything in the bag, but I missed something. I dropped the ball somewhere and I want to kick my ass because I knew, but had I been calm. My mom always tell me that you gotta calm down. I'm my daddy's daughter. I'd be like, nah, we gotta go. We gotta fight now. We gotta go to the grass right now. But I need to learn how to bring it down.
The thing of it is it's a burnout. Really, it is. Sending all them emails,
Mm-hmm.
think about it. It's such a mental.
And it's triggering. Like you said, even talking about you, it's triggering.
It's triggering, but you have to send those emails because at that point, you are holding everybody accountable and liable.
Mm-hmm.
Like last year with that incident that happened with the guy that said he was going to shoot up my house, the teacher had called, right?
Oh.
So my kids sitting in the classroom, they had a shelter in place. So, you know, you get to sit in the classroom for an extended period of time. And so the guy was in there after so many hours of sitting in the class was like, you know, I sell all this drug paraphernalia and vapes and stuff like that. And my daughter made the comment. My daughter and my son was in the same class because it was like a high school credit class and they were taking it together. My daughter was like, well, what if I tell your mama that you do it? Now the boy had just moved into our neighborhood and I think he's like renting a house. So he was like, well, if you tell, I'm going to shoot up your house. Right. So the teacher called me and was like, hey, did your daughter and son tell you what happened today in class? I'm like, they told me that this guy said, no, he said that he was going to shoot up your house. Well, now I don't know how serious he said it because it could have been like, well, if you know, I don't know what it was. Right. So the assistant principal I immediately sent that email that night. I'm up at 3:00 in the morning, sending an email like, this is what happened. They were sitting in the class. It was a shelter in place. They had the time. The guy was showing all this stuff on Instagram. That's a burnout. Me recapping the day that I wasn't even there. I was at my job and I'm tired. I got to get up in the morning and do my own stuff, right? As soon as I sent the email, y'all know ain't nobody reached out to me. So now at 8:00 in the morning, I'm calling the school to say, hey, I sent your AP email. Have they gotten the email yet? Because it's in, well, they're down there on duty. Oh, okay, but this take precedence over duty. I need to get somebody on the phone. So, of course, the AP gets to I did get your email this morning. I was just about to call your kids down to the office. See, I don't have time for you to get at 1 p.m. because I'm trying to get this handled, right?
The boy said he gonna shoot my house up.
Right. So they had my daughter come in and write a statement. I'm big on statements. If you're writing a statement 9 times out of 10, go ahead and text me so I can write your statement for you and I can send it to you. You can copy your statement for you. I know you were there. You can add your own stuff, but let's proofread this statement together while I'm sitting there writing that statement. When he called the young man into the office, I felt like it was intentional. The superintendent had the statement on the desk, the boy looking at her name. So he tells my son, why your sister went told on me.
Oh, my God.
He was like, my sister didn't tell on you. I saw the statement on the superintendent's desk.
Oh,
on the assistant principal's desk.
My God.
And I saw her name on it. So now I'm mad. I'm furious at this point. In fact, I don't even want them at the school, but I guess it don't make a difference because this young man know where I stay, right? And mind you, while he was talking about shooting up my house, he was like, I see y'all got cameras on your house. What kind of dogs do y'all have in the backyard? So
wait a minute.
But this was before she even wrote the statement he was saying all that, just to identify the house. So I was like, you know, we got to go to another school. We just got to relocate because I don't even trust the boy. Because now I'm looking at his Instagram. Y'all, even if he had fake guns, he was dropping the clip out of the gun. So I'm looking at the gun on those little stories that you can look at. Dropping clips, really got bullets, all this drug paraphernalia.
Where are his people?
I don't know. And I was like, I know he don't know where I stay. So now I'm like, oh God, here we go. So I was trying to pull them out of a school. I was trying to send them to a campus that I wanted them to be at versus where, and so I was calling the right HR people and school people. And they were like, no, they can go to this school. I'm like, girl, you don't get to pick my school. Y'all drop the ball.
Exactly.
Like, you don't get to tell me where we going. We want to go here, and this is what it's going to be. I didn't get my first choice, but the first choice that they were trying to send them to, I was like, that's not what I'm not driving there for, first of all. And then I was like, and y'all need to set up transportation for them to get there.
Absolutely.
Oh no, if we do a transfer, you have the project. Oh, ma'am, you're not doing me a favor.
It was so did
Right.
it fall under the bullying things that where they had to do the transportation and the transfer, or did they not accept it as that?
No, it didn't. It was almost like a parent wanted their child to move. But I was telling them, like, nah, this is not even that. I kept telling the lady, I don't want you to think that you're doing me a favor. Your assistant principal dropped the ball.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a breach in confidentiality.
Absolutely.
Y'all have to accept that. Find that transportation. So we did go to the school one day, and then my son and daughter just felt like, dang, I feel like I told, and now I'm transferring and have to leave my friends, and I couldn't let them live with that lesson, because then they would probably feel like, I don't need to say nothing no more at all, right? So I did let them go back the next day, because I couldn't allow. The only lesson I felt like they were processing at the time was, we told and we had to move. Nothing happened to him. He's still at the school with his friends, right? So I was like, never mind, just go back. But yeah, you just.
So that wasn't a terroristic threat.
No.
That's crazy.
I'm confused.
It wasn't even deemed as a terroristic threat.
Wow.
I'm so confused.
So because with your baby.
And it's all in writing with the emails and everything.
Wow.
And the teacher, she was the witness and everything to it.
Oh, damn. The teacher even was supportive.
Yeah, she was like, definitely. Whatever you have, I don't even want him in my classroom no more. So make
Wow.
sure you
She's
send that
afraid
message
too.
to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
She's crying for help.
Girl,
That may be something.
y'all have floored me today. I feel like we still need to continue talking, but I think we done shocked the people for now.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I think I'm going to speak it into existence. I think that you need to look into advocacy, because it sounds like you're really good. We'll clap it up. It seems like you're really good at it.
Yeah.
And it seems like you could be very helpful to people that get themselves in situations with some of these school districts. So not to be in your business or nothing, but for this other school organization, did they cut you a check too?
Which one for it?
The last place with the LeBron James people, or them letting him go was enough?
All they did was gave me what I wanted.
Okay.
And it wasn't a financial gain. It was more so I would like to move around and do this instead. And they were like, you want to do that now? Okay, go.
I know somebody very well that they did have to pay.
Really?
The school leader fired a teacher for not turning on her air conditioning.
What?
Oh, God.
She was a school leader also.
What do you mean she didn't turn her air
She
conditioner
didn't turn on her air conditioning.
in her
So
classroom? They had like mobile units?
Yeah, mobile units. Good Friday, she was asked to leave. And the district, the company, not the district, the charter district had to give the teacher a large sum of money because she was asked to leave after not turning on her air.
Well, first of all, why?
It's another podcast.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Well, guys, thanks for joining us again. Thank you, ladies, for coming and talking with me today. I know I took more of y'all time than I wanted to, but as always, the conversations are always so good. So I appreciate y'all, and we'll see y'all next week. This podcast was made possible by producer extraordinaire D. Francis at the legendary Lab 7 Studios in Mo City, Texas.